In the 90s, Donald Trump was on the brink with $990 million of debt. The New York Post called him RO, and banks seized his yachts, towers, and helicopters. But what he did next rewrote the wealth playbook forever. Every entrepreneur should understand this. October 1987, Trump seemed untouchable. The Art of the Deal hit #1 on bestseller lists. Forbes valued him at $1.7 billion. Fortune called him a business genius. But behind the glamour, a disaster was brewing. 1990, the recession hit like a sledgehammer. Newsweek described Trump as tarnished by marital scandal, mired in debt and negotiating with banks. His debt? A staggering $3.2 billion. By 1991, it got so bad Trump told this story to Esquire. The IRS numbers tell the real story. From 1985 to 1994, Trump lost more money than any other American taxpayer. $1.17 billion in losses over 10 years. His core businesses never made a profit. Not once. Here's how the empire collapsed. Trump's disaster started in the go-go 80s. Borrowed millions to enter Atlantic City gambling. Took over the half-finished Taj Mahal Casino in 1988. Bought Trump Shuttle Airline. Acquired hotels, properties, yachts. When recession hit in 1990, total catastrophe. The bankruptcies came like dominoes. 1991, Taj Mahal filed for bankruptcy. 1992, Trump Castle filed. 1992, Trump Plaza filed. His airline never turned a profit. By spring 1990, I was deeply in the red. My empire was hemorrhaging value, he later admitted. The Vanity Fair reported, the banks didn't just call the loans. They took control of his life. They appointed a financial monitor to watch every dollar. The great dealmaker was put on a $450,000 monthly allowance. Wall Street wrote his obituary.
Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top. There are many people who would say failing at the top.
I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
As a member of the press, let me try to clear up some of the things which you say are untrue. You write in your book, my bankers and I worked out a terrific deal that allows me to come out stronger than ever. I see the deal as a great victory, and eventually the rest of the world will too. Being on the verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks,
well, you don't have to say on the
skating on thin ice and almost drowning, that's a businessman to be admired.
You say on the verge of bankruptcy, Barbara, and you talk on the verge, and you listen to what people are saying.
I talk to your bankers.
Well, that's fine. And what do they say? I mean, you know, depending on which banker you're talking to, what do they say? I'm the only one people write about. I mean, they don't write about other people.
You have a little more debt than most people. You're something like $3 billion in debt.
I also have a little more assets than most people.
Okay. You have debts to pay back.
Right.
You have huge loans to pay back. You say the country is in a depression. What makes you think that you can pay back those loans? And further, what your bankers have told us is that the only way you even have a chance is by selling that property out there totally, the plaza.
Well, I don't know what the bankers have said. The plaza is a very valuable property. Everybody told me, oh, you paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made on the plaza.
You yourself said that you saw your children maybe once a week. You're having a lot of difficulties with your 12-year-old son, Donnie. You haven't talked to him since May. Do you believe in fidelity in marriage?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
In the current issue of Vanity Fair, the author Marie Brenner says that you read from Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, and that these are speeches that you seem to admire. What's your reaction? Do you have this book?
A friend of mine sent me a book, a man who I think is Jewish, although I don't know.
The seizures were brutal. His 282-foot yacht, Trump Princess. Personal helicopter, Trump Shuttle Airline. Stakes in department stores. Everyone thought Trump was finished. But 1995 became his turning point.
Now the casino Trump dubbed the eighth wonder of the world will take him on his first trip to the bankruptcy court.
His well-documented and severe financial downturn in the past year and his public humiliation as his once mighty empire cracked and then crumbled.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to do very well with it. I think it's going to be, over the long term, a great business decision.
the New York Times raises the specter of Trump's casino empire facing bankruptcy, his showbiz career is soaring.
I've had a great life. I've enjoyed my life. I've had a lot of fun. I've had some downs, but I've had friends that went out of business. You'll never see them again. I never went bankrupt.
What goes up must come down. And today, Trump Entertainment Resorts, owners of the Trump Taj Mahal, the Trump Plaza, and the Trump Marina casinos in Atlantic City, filed for bankruptcy protection. Trump himself stepped down from the board of directors on Friday, along with his daughter Ivanka.
I have used the laws of this country, the chapter laws, to do a great job for my company, for myself, for my employees, for my family, etc.
Trump's escape wasn't about luck or connections, it was a masterclass in turning disaster into opportunity. He discovered 3 strategies that no bankrupt businessman had ever combined before, and they changed everything about how we think about failure and comeback. Here's what he did. 1. Equity for debt swap. Instead of scrambling for cash he didn't have, he offered banks something more valuable: ownership stakes in his properties. At Trump Plaza Hotel, bondholders accepted 49% equity to forgive $550 million in debt. The genius was in the details. By giving banks equity, he transformed them from adversaries into partners. Now they needed him to succeed as badly as he did, because empty Trump properties without the Trump name were worthless. But his second move was even more brilliant. 2. While banks took ownership of his buildings, Trump negotiated to keep operational control. He convinced them that Trump properties needed Trump himself to maintain value, so he continued managing the assets while collecting fees, with zero downside risk if they failed. In a nutshell, he lost ownership but kept getting paid to run the properties. The banks realized they'd bought expensive real estate that only worked with his name attached, so they had no choice but to keep him involved. Then came his third and most innovative strategy. 3. Mastering publicity. While technically bankrupt, Trump turned his personal publicity into a new currency. He appeared at casino openings, hotel launches, and business events, not as an owner, but as Donald Trump, the brand. Each appearance commanded fees, and controversy only made him more valuable. The tax implications were wild. That $916 million loss in 1995 created a shield against $50 million in annual income. For over 18 years, he could rebuild his empire while legally avoiding federal income taxes on massive earnings. But what he did next changed business forever. From 1996 forward, Trump essentially created the first human IPO. Instead of selling shares in companies, he sold shares in his personal brand. He licensed his name for $1.5 million per building, collecting royalties without risking a penny of capital. No bankruptcy court could seize a name, no creditor could foreclose on a reputation. By 2004, The Apprentice proved his theory correct. 14 seasons and $427 million in revenue, all from monetizing his personal brand rather than physical assets. Here's what Trump understood that others didn't. Stop owning, start licensing, buying buildings to licensing his name, funding projects to collecting royalties and risking capital to monetizing reputation. The brand survived when the buildings didn't.